We have spent the last 3 years living under a cloud of high frequency anxiety. If you have scrolled through any online feed since 2023, the underlying message has been that the machines are coming for your job. And they said if you don't learn how to prompt, you will be left behind. But something strange is happening in 2026, 3 years later. The fog is starting to lift, and what we are seeing now is a landscape littered with AI slop, technical debt, and plenty of tired humans. We were told the sky was the limit for LLMs or large language models, but it turns out the sky has a ceiling. A glass ceiling that most of the tech gurus did not see at the time. In today's episode, we are going to talk about why the AI job replacement narrative is failing, why the technology itself is hitting a physical and logical wall, and why, for the first time in years, the most valuable thing you can be is a human who understands the basics. I am Rushin, and this is the Tech Files. Let's start with the fear. We have seen the layoffs. We have seen the fearing headlines that says AI is coming for you. And yes, companies are using AI as a justification for cutting staff. But as someone in the trenches of computer science, I want to pull back the curtain on what is actually happening. If you take the software industry, there is a massive difference between writing code and software engineering. Lately, we have seen the rise of what people are calling vibe coding. Basically, this is when you don't actually know how a particular system works, but you just describe a vibe or give certain instructions to an LLM and hope it spits out a working application. And for something like a simple project or a hobby, it is pure magic. But for the systems that run our banks, our hospitals, and our infrastructure, vibe coding is a liability. AI-generated code is often 70% correct. I know that sounds high until you realize that in engineering, a system that is 30% broken is just simply broken. We are seeing companies that try to automate their entire workflow, now drowning in a new kind of debt. Instead of replacing their engineers, they just turn them into exhausted reviewers. Instead of the joy of coding and building applications or systems, we are stuck in a loop of fixing hallucinated bugs. How I see is the replacement was not a transition to efficiency, rather a transition to a reviewer trap. There is a technical reason why the fear of losing to AI is starting to subside. Because LLMs are hitting a ceiling. In the early days, the jumps from GPT-2 to GPT-3 and then GPT-4 felt like we were watching a baby turn into a genius overnight. We extrapolated that growth and assumed that by 2026 we would have AGI or artificial general intelligence. But what we need to understand is that logic does not always work on a linear curve. First, there's the data restrictions. In other words, large language models learn from us humans. We have fed them nearly every single book, article, forum, and Reddit thread ever written. Now the internet is becoming flooded with AI-generated content. When a model starts learning from other models, you get a condition called model collapse. It is like a photo of a photo of a photo. Eventually the crisp detail disappears and you are left with a blurry generic mess. Second, there is the reasoning gap. LLMs are essentially stochastic parrots. They are world class at predicting the next word in a sentence, but they still don't really know anything. They don't have technical intuition. You can build a data center in space or burn a small country's worth of electricity to power a cluster. But more computing power does not equal more wisdom. We have reached the point of diminishing returns. The jumps between older and newer AI models are getting smaller, while the costs are getting higher. So if the technology behind AI is stalling and the vibe is shifting, what do we do? How do we stay relevant when the hype is still screaming in our ears? Well, I think back to the philosophy of the deep life. In a world of synthetic noise, the rarest resource is deep work. While everyone else is trying to find the perfect prompt to trick an AI into doing their job, the real winners in 2026 and the years to come are the ones who is going back to the basics. They are the ones who can sit in a room for 4 hours, 5 hours with a notebook and solve a complex problem from first principles they have thought themselves with. Think about this for a second. If everyone can generate good enough content or good enough code with a click and a couple of prompts, then good enough becomes worthless. In fact, it becomes a commodity. Then what becomes priceless is the question. Well, what are the things you can't put a price on? I believe it is empathy, insight, technical intuition, and the ability to see the reasoning behind what is in front of you. And here is my genuine advice to you. Don't be a prompt engineer. That is a job title with an expiration date. Be a subject matter expert in whatever the field you are in. That will take you a long way. We are entering the NFTification of AI. The AI bubble has not popped because the technology itself is useless yet, and AI is an incredible tool. It is popping because we are finally seeing it for what it is, which is a tool, not a replacement for human agency. The ceiling that we have reached with AI is not a failure of technology. It is a victory for the human spirit. It is a reminder that there is a limit to what can be synthesized. My challenge for you this week is simple. Just try to do one task entirely unprompted. Write that report, solve that bug, or plan that project using nothing but your own brain and the skills you have spent years building. Remind yourself what it feels like to be the architect, not just the reviewer of the content generated by the prompts. Because the view from the other side of this glass ceiling, well, it looks a lot more human than they told us it would. So try to shift your perspective on this and see how it turns out. Alright, so join the Tech Files community and let's keep the conversation going on this topic. Links are in the description. And if you have any questions about this topic, or if you have any stories that you would like to share, or if you have any interesting theories, visit rushanwick.com to submit them. Subscribe to the Tech Files wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you in the next one.